All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. And Dirk, if you want to switch over to the presentation, that'd be great. Thank you for taking part in the presentation titled Closing Your Books in 3 Days. What I always like to bring up is how to get more time back into your nights and weekends. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. First of all, this will probably be around 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less. All of our contact information will be at the end of the presentation. And if you do have any questions, which we appreciate, please write them in the question tab there that you see at your GoToMeeting little app. And again, more questions, the better. So appreciate that. All right, so the purpose of today's webcast is, there's obviously a couple of purposes, but it's really to help kind of build a faster, stronger, more accurate accounting team in your organization. So whether you are a staff accountant, a controller, or a CFO, hopefully you get a lot of good information about this. So today we're going to kind of go over a few samples of how you can take maybe some corrective action with people, processes, and systems to make your accounting group more accurate and faster. A little bit about us, you know who you're talking with. My name is Jeff Constable. I'm a senior account executive here at goVirtualOffice. I've got about 18 years of enterprise software experience, more so in supply chain execution and ERP systems. And my role normally is to help guide company leadership through their evaluation process within systems. And Dirk, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. Yeah, my name is Dirk Shimpa. I'm actually the founder here at goVirtualOffice, and a little background about me. I am a CPA. I am by no means a practicing CPA, yeah, I've, prior to starting goVirtualOffice, I did hold positions as like controllership and CFOs, and was, definitely involved in a number of closes for a number of years. And over about probably the last 15, 16 years, I've been, definitely working more with accounting systems themselves and financial departments and helping, leaders like yourself, improve their processes within their accounting departments as well as other areas.
Excellent. Thanks, Dirk. So a little bit more about us, and to kind of come full out, goVirtualOffice is a full-service NetSuite provider, and what Dirk is going to be showing today is going to be in the NetSuite platform. But we have been a NetSuite provider, as Dirk mentioned, for the last 15, 16 years. And we have customers that are using NetSuite, the NetSuite platform, all around the U.S. of all different sizes and shapes, whether they're startups or billion-dollar organizations and all different types of verticals and industries. What I like to to brag a little bit about our organization is that we have about 42 people here. And all of us are former CPAs, controllers, CFOs, people that have been in like sales operations, manufacturing, distribution, e-commerce, you name it. So we're able to bring that real world experience to your implementation. So next slide I like to bring up is this, right? It's nice to go to work and do the work, but not so many people like to stay late and come in on the weekends. So obviously everyone knows this from the movie Office Space. So Dirk, I guess when you were in your controllership CFOs, did you work a lot of weekends and nights?
Oh, there's definitely times, in the crunch of closing the books at the beginning of a month where you were spending late nights, or you came in on a Saturday or Sunday to kind of make that happen, to get all the financials produced in time for the executive group. So yes, very, very used to those days.
Excellent, good. Well, I have a couple of questions for you here, Dirk, and if you want to switch over to your screen, the main part of this webinar is how we can kind of speed things up, and especially when it comes to month-end closes. There must be some kind of automation that we can bring, or that an organization can bring to the table. What are the first couple of things you want to consider?
Well, one of the things, and again, when I think of month-end close, right, it's very much a schedule, which, you know, the group on the call knows this probably much better than I do. But one of the things I always kind of think is start early, right? Don't start after the month, maybe even start a few days before on like day -3, -2. And, you know, one of the things you could do is, you know, obviously we have to review the financials. So, run the income statement on the 26th, the 27th, the 28th of the month. You know, again, you can, you know, set it for, you know, this particular fiscal period. We could set it to August. And then what I want to do is I want to run this by accounting period. And now this is just a month-by-month look at our revenue and our expenses. And, you know, again, you guys do this all the time, but, you know, you're just kind of looking through your revenue and expenses, looking for, you know, anything that's, you know, abnormal, you know. So as I kind of scrolling along here, and if I get to rent expense, for example, one second here.
It's nice to have a nice statement like this that you can manipulate. It looks like you're able to put in different periods and different columns and add, which is kind of nice, right? Yeah, so one of the things you kind of just look for here is, so I'm going to be bringing up here a vendor bill. And, you know, really what we're looking for is, you know, some anomalies. So one of the things here I'll show you is, you know, we see this 54,000. I'm going to just change something here quickly so you can kind of see what this will do. So let me just say okay, and I'm going to hit save. And then we'll refresh our income statement. So again, as I look through here, you know, we can kind of scroll down and we can say, wow, you know, I've been trending at a 20K and now I'm at 76K. So we can drill into that particular number and then we can say, well, yep, we got some normal entries here, but now I have a bill for 54,000. So if I drill further in, you know, we can keep drilling back deeper and deeper. I can see, well, yeah, we've got some rent expense for 54,000. Oh, this is for some additional office space for the next 3 months. Well, this is an expense for August. So one of the things you can do is, obviously we're able to easily drill down and find it, which is important. But one of the things we can do is we can, you know, set up an amortization schedule, and we can, you know, tag this to a prepaid insurance or rent, for instance. We're going to set the amortization, you know, from September 1 to 12/31, and we'll hit OK, and we'll hit save. And now we've basically we've gone and we're going to allocate this. So let me bring up the amortization schedule for this. So you can see now we took that expense and we're going to now hit that in September, October, November, and December. If I go back to the bill and go to GL Impact, we can see now we're hitting prepaid insurance, or in this case it would also have been prepaid rent. And if I go back and I rerun that financial statement off of my income statement, and again, I'm going to run this by accounting period. We can kind of scroll down and we can see here my rent expense here is back in line. So again, this is just one of the things you would do, and you could do this before the end of the month. Obviously, you do this after the end of the month, but now you're only checking the last 2 or 3 days. Nice. it's nice to have that full chart to look at, to find those discrepancies and be able to kind of drill down into them to see what actually happened, and you can make those changes as needed, right?
Yeah.
All right, Dirk, so are there any other, I guess, we talked about automating some stuff, but is there anything that you can streamline on a regular monthly, from monthly entries that we can add into the tool or do?
Sure. Every accounting department, every company has kind of recurring monthly entries, whether it's, payroll, rent, prepaids, accruals, whatever those things are. So one of the things I'll just kind of I'll bring up here is, let's see here, where do I want to go? We're going to just global search and create a journal entry. Let's see, let me do this. So nothing real special about a journal entry, right? We're just, we want to, make some entries here. So we're going to, pick our subsidiary, which is our entity. We're going to set our date. And, again, when we set a date, I can, just type in a 0830, I could go to the calendar. There's a lot of ways we can do that. But in the end, I'm going to just make a payroll entry. So $10,000, and it goes to this department. And we're going to grab my payroll expenses account. Maybe that's a couple $1,000. And then, this is going to come out of cash. So, obviously, if you got more departments, more categories, this entry could get to be pretty long. But in the end, I could save this entry, and we can go every month, and you can go recreate this from scratch. So you'll see this is 286. So, you could keep a journal of these entries, or you can look back on past, and you could say, oh yeah, I want to find journal entry 286. And I'm going to open that up in a view mode, and we can go right here and make a copy of that entry. So very easy to kind of find past transactions, make a copy, make a couple changes to those entries, and then just kind of move forward. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is you can memorize these things. So if I go to memorize, we can have templates, but you can have basically reminders. So, I want to have this, I want to have a reminder, and I'll show you where that shows up on the dashboard. And, I want to have this happen for 12 months. Or if I take this out, we could make it indefinite as well. But you could set reminders up for weekly, quarterly, all sorts of different things. You could also set this up to be automatic. So lots of different ways to kind of automate those regular entries. So again, back to the home page, from a controllership or accounting manager, you would see, I have these memorized transactions due. If I just to kind of show you how they would stack up, you would see all of your memorized transactions. This works for accounts payable and sales orders and all sorts of different stuff. But again, you could mark all and then mass create all these journal entries. So that's one way to kind of maintain some of your journal entries. Another thing to kind of talk about would be the concept of what are called statistical accounts. So you can have statistical accounts for maybe employee headcount, square footage in an office building, all sorts of different things. You could use those statistical accounts in your financials to create revenue per headcount or profit per headcount. In this case, you can see here I've got a department square footage. So eventually we'll talk about allocating rent across square footage. But you can see here I've got my departments and their square footage. Again, we can use that make copy functionality, and we want to post this for the end of August, and we've now increased our size in our admin department. You've seen that bill, so we would just want to make that change. So again, very easy to make changes, make journal entries more or less to one-sided journal entries to statistical accounts. Once I have this though, now I can use this within allocation schedules. So in this case, just to kind of show you, there's two different types of allocation schedules we can have. You can have dynamic or fixed allocation schedules. So in this case, it's dynamic. We're using that square footage as the basis, and what it's going to do is basically going to take rent expense that was posted as a single entry, and then it's going to allocate it to the departments based upon that month's expense. So just to kind of show you that entry, once it's here, we basically go to view. It's going to automatically create that entry for us. So you can see we're moving it out of here, and we're oops, I selected the wrong one. Let me choose view on department rental. So you can see now we pulled it out of the general admin, and now we're debiting, per that. So that's one type of allocation schedule. Another one would be a fixed allocation schedule, where, again, this is, let me pull up the fixed one, close a couple of my tabs, but our fixed allocation schedule, here's professional services fee, and we're just saying basically take 50% to admin, 30% to professional and product. So again, it's just a real easy way to automate those entries as we move forward.
Good. All right, thanks, Dirk. Appreciate that. It's what it seems very nice, especially to start speeding that up, is obviously a person would have reminders to go do things, to make those journal entries. The memorized transaction seems like a really nice additive, especially if you want to start automating things and being able to use those templates as time goes on doing that. So another question for you, but before I go any further, I want to remind people that if you are attending, if you have any questions, you can use the question mark or the questions tab at the right of your screen and enter them for later, and we start answering those. All right, so Dirk, we have all those things memorized. We're looking at the transactions. What about approvals? There's got to be somebody who maybe has oversight that kind of has to go through. Are there easy ways to review these transactions? Can you simplify that?
Yeah, so right, as a controller or CFO, you've got a lot on your plate, lots of responsibilities, lots of meetings. So one of the things we encourage is try to delegate more, right? Have other team members, make some of these journal entries, do some of the month-end work, and put yourself more in an approval role. So as you can see here, there's journals to approve. There's a reminder that says, hey, I got 6 journals to approve. And again, you could go and mark all and mass approve them, or you could open a given one up. So I'll open up the one for maybe professional services fees. And one of the things you could do is you could have your team members go and upload a file, and then you could have a document right here that you would review the work papers. So they basically would click in, and you would be able to see the working file that's associated to that. So if that looked okay, then you would basically say approve, and you would move forward on the other one. So again, lots of ways to kind of see what's out there, do approvals. Another thing, and I know I went a little quick, but when we look at our income statement again and the drill backs, so let me run our income statement. And again, I got to run this by accounting period. And so we see outside services again. There's an anomaly here of 21,000, and I see this accounts payable. every transaction, in NetSuite, has what is called a GL impact. So, again, you can drill back, you could get to, that particular entry and see, what that was about. The other thing I'll call out is, you can also see who did this, right? Who was it set by, the date, the time, the old value, the new value. So you have all of that audit tracking as well. So, the goal again at month end is, automate, delegate, and then, just put yourself more in an approval and review process.
Good, thanks. Yeah, it's nice to have those reminders in front of you that you can kind of go through those different processes, especially with your team. All right, so Dirk, all this stuff is approved, it's ready to go. What about like final reporting options? And outside of that, or say within that, what about like, looking at actuals, compared to budget, or even looking at things like, income by product line, and ratio information. That's a lot of stuff to throw at you, but, I want to have this final option as far as the reporting goes.
Yeah, so, again, when we go back, and I know I'm getting a little bit repetitive, but on the income statement, we looked at it by period. We could run, this from 1 year to we could go back multiple years, and then you could compare this by quarter, by year. We can also look at this by class. So think of class as like a product line. So, how's one business element doing versus another? We could run it by location. So maybe within a given entity, maybe you have 2 or 3 locations, an east location, a west location. So maybe you want to run financials by that, as well as even, departmental. So if you want to kind of look at departmental expenses, those are all very common things. The other thing I would call out too is, the ability to run budgeting reports. So we want to run, budget versus actual here. And again, you can have your actuals versus budget. You could run this again by period, by class. You could have a baseline budget and a forecast budget. So lots of variability around that. NetSuite does also provide, ratio reporting. So we'll, if I'll go to financials here just to kind of show you some things. And so again, you can have a very macro view of your financials, this period, last period, get down to your EBITDA, look at, different trends as well. So a lot of options around reporting.
Yeah, it's nice to have those options, obviously, that you showed. And it's also nice for leaders that are using this tool to have a really nice, easy place to go to do some analysis of the organization as they're growing. All right, so Dirk, I'm going to throw a curveball out there at you. This is all very nice, especially from the reporting perspective, but what if you have multiple companies in your organization? What if you have different subsidiaries and you kind of track that information?
Yeah, a good question. So I forgot to show the ratio piece, so I just wanted to make sure the group did see that, here's an example of, our operating expenses, quick ratios, return on equity. So again, and all of that has full drill back capabilities as well. But as we're kind of talking about multiple companies, right? So far, we've kind of just been talking about a single entity. We work with a lot of clients that have multiple entities, multiple subsidiaries, either all U.S. based or some may be in Canada or the U.K. or wherever. So one of the things that's nice, within NetSuite is the whole what is called One World. So, you can have you can set up whatever subsidiary structure you want. So if I click the parent, I can look at all of my financials and everything for just that parent. if I just click UK, you know, I can see, you know, all of my dashboards and everything just for the UK, and this would be again in British pounds. If I jump from here into the income statement, and again, we could run this by subsidiary. I'm going to again set this for this fiscal year and hit refresh. So now I have all of my subsidiaries. Let me go back. I want to go back home for a second and set this. I set this at the parent, and then we'll hit refresh here one more time. So, you know, you can see each subsidiary. NetSuite totally will handle all the consolidation. It will handle elimination accounts, due to, due froms. And then if I were to, you know, run this for a given subsidiary, you know, it is in that base currency, so full multi-currency. You know, lots of stuff you can do from a company consolidation standpoint.
Yeah, that's my next question, and you just answered that. Is if you have companies or subsidiaries outside the United States using dollar, you're easily able to kind of use that multi-currency, and everything can kind of be consolidated up to whatever money that actually is. So appreciate that. Good. So we're kind of getting to the end here, and what I'd like to do is kind of open us up to any questions. As I look here, we do have a few, Dirk, that came in. Are there different ways, if I'm understanding this right, are there different ways to distribute the financials and the reports that you were showing before?
Oh yeah. So you know, one thing is, you know, what we publish. The next thing would be, you know, as far as, like you said, how do we distribute them? Again, back to the income statement, you know, really easy to just hit the Excel button and we can dump this to Excel. That's a very common thing to do in our world. But the other thing I would call out, so, you know, there's, we'll let that refresh here. So there's our income statement in Excel. But the other thing I would call out is, you know, we can email and we could even schedule. So maybe on the 8th day of every month, I want this to go out to, you know, a certain distribution list, you know, at, you know, the Friday of every month. So you can also schedule any of these reports to go out on a certain time period.
Nice. A little bit more automation is always nice. So another question here, Dirk, is it looks like it's about understanding who did what. You kind of showed a little bit about who did what within a particular transaction, but I think they're going more toward how do we audit or how do we keep track of who did what when we're either entering journal entries or just whatever transaction is within the system.
Yeah, so I did show the system notes. You know, every transaction tells you the who, was it entered via UI or was it an integration or a CSV import? What was the old value, the new value? We do have a lot of clients that come from QuickBooks, and that's one of the biggest complaints about QuickBooks is they can just go delete a record and now my financials are all off, and what happened? So NetSuite totally tracks deletes in the system. You can put reason codes behind deletes. So there's a lot of nice controls from an audit standpoint.
Nice, good. All right. If I look here, it doesn't look like any other questions came in. So I guess to finalize everything, obviously thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you appreciate that. There's a lot more. I'm sure some of you have a lot more that you could share with us as well. But NetSuite as a platform is very nice to use. A lot of very easy reporting you can drill down into. But as Dirk went over some things, what I understand is, number one, is start early, right, with looking at what you have to close on. Number two, there's a lot of automation that can happen really in everything. Number three is approvals, right, being able to finalize that and show reports of what you're being doing, or what the organization is doing. And really the last is being able to easily publish the information that you have. So This session has been recorded. Everyone that is partaking will receive an email with this recorded session. Please check out on our website at goVirtualOffice.com. We have a number of tools that you can use if you're looking at ERP systems. Also, you can sign up for our future webcasts. So on behalf of Dirk, myself, and the goVirtualOffice team, we thank you for partaking and look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.